What's up, guys? For oddschecker, I am here with everyone's favorite college football experts. We've got Joe and Alex. Guys, happy Monday. How was your week 2?
Joe, I did okay. Melissa, I did okay. I was 2-1 last week. My pick of the week hit thanks to the Georgia Southern Eagles. Telling you folks, that was easy money at plus 22.5 or whatever it was. And obviously, Nebraska losing outright turned out to be a bit of a problem for Scott Frost. So I had a better week than him.
Yeah, my show weeks keep having the worst luck. I lost Ohio first half on the last play of the half, and Old Dominion kind of fell apart in the fourth quarter with some turnovers. But I went 1-2, got the Kentucky play, so trying to go better this week.
I am too. Just like Scott Frost and his former team, UCF, I kind of had a bad week in college football plays. Great week in the NFL. Guys, did you enjoy week 1? The Giants won. I don't know if anyone knew. They did, though.
We've heard that. We're hearing it more and more that the Giants did win on Sunday. Really incredible.
I'm a Falcons fan, so it was not a fun second half in that game.
Well, I had a great Sunday, if anyone wanted to know. But, guys, we're not here to talk about the NFL. We are here to talk about college football. Alex, you have got 3 picks for us and a top pick of the week. Why don't you start?
Yeah, sure. I'll do the first 3 here. So some of these numbers have inched around since I put these in on Sunday, but I'm going to start with Louisville and Florida State. This is a weeknight game. I'm going under at 55. Get the best number you can get. I think now it's more around 54.5. I think that the markets here have not quite caught up to these teams not being horribly impressive on offense, but maybe having decent defenses. Louisville's 2 games so far have gone under by about 23 points a game. FSU's have gone more narrowly under, but the unders have hit in their games. I don't make too much of like your performance against the spread, your performance against over and unders later in the year, because I think that these things are so variable. But I think that there can be some hints early in the year if you're just looking at bettors, odds makers not having a really keen sense for what a team's identity might be at this point in the year. I also think people might have looked at Jordan Travis, the Florida State quarterback, against LSU, a team that was kind of in disarray itself, and maybe gotten the impression that the FSU offense is better than it actually is. I think Louisville has a kind of lousy offense. And, even though Malik Cunningham, their quarterback, is experienced and he's talented, they have not looked efficient at all. They've scored 3 touchdowns in 2 games against a couple of not great defenses. Syracuse and Melissa, you mentioned UCF, which lost to them last week. So 1 touchdown and 5 red zone trips. So they've got some drive finishing problems. I like the under all around in this game at 55. A spread pick, my only spread pick this week, Western Kentucky +7 at Indiana in Bloomington. A minor leap of faith because we don't really know what Western Kentucky is going to be this year. They basically imported an entire offense, coordinator, quarterback, receivers last year from Houston Baptist, which is an FCS school. Had a 1-year boom with Bailey Zappi, the quarterback, Zach Kitley, the offensive coordinator, Jarrett Stearns, the wide receiver. That offense is pretty much all gone at this point, and they've kind of had to restock on the fly. The thing is that Indiana just isn't that good. They're 2-0, but they lose to Illinois a couple weeks ago, if not for an officiating gift that they got. They really struggled with Idaho, which is a not spectacularly good FCS team last week. And so getting a touchdown, getting points here, and that many of them, I feel really good about it. I think right now this is more like 6.5, but honestly, I think getting anything more than 4 or 5 just feels like, a really shrewd value play this week. And also I'll leave you with this. Washington State and Colorado State out west under 53.5. Similar methodology to the Louisville, Florida State thing. I think that the markets have yet to reframe some things about these teams. I think that they think they might be a bit more offensively dynamic than they are. There was a lot of talk before the year about Cameron Ward, the FCS transfer quarterback for Wazoo, who has struggled a decent bit so far, even though they're 2-0. Similar deal at Colorado State. I think people have talked about Jay Norvell, the new head coach, replacing Steve Adazio. It's going to be an offensive shift. They're going to go away from 3 yards in a cloud of dust to more of an air raid spread passing offense concept. And they are doing that, but it just hasn't worked. They've scored 26 points in 2 games. I don't think they're going to do a lot here. I think Wazoo's defense, which just held Wisconsin to 14, albeit with some good red zone fortune, is going to have a good afternoon here. I just don't see a lot of points here. I feel like under 53.5 is where the value lies on this total.
All right. This is the first time we're taking so many totals this week. We got 2 unders. We got 1 spread from Alex. I'm excited to see how this plays out.
Yeah, we're being variable. We're mixing
it up here on oddschecker. Joe, you also got 3 picks for us. You also have 3 picks. You guys are killing the game here. What do you got for us?
Yeah, the first one I'm rolling with this week is UNLV -2. I think Doug Brumfield has really stepped up in this offense. He has looked pretty good through the first 2 games. They blew out Idaho State in their first game of the season in a spread that was kind of low against a bad Idaho State team, and they blew them out, covered that spread easily. They come back the next week as an underdog versus Cal this past week, and they cover, almost win the game. I've been really impressed with this UNLV offense. And on the flip side, I'm just not impressed with North Texas so far. They just gave up nearly 30 points to a Texas Southern team who is really bad in the SWAC. UNLV being at home, I really like them in this spot. I just think they're going to score all over North Texas. So I think UNLV gets the dub here at home. The next one I'm rolling with is going to be Houston -9.5 against Kansas. Might be at -10 or -10.5 now, but I like it either way. This is a straight Kansas fade for me. They're coming off a really spectacular win at West Virginia. They scored, I think, over 50 points in that game. I was shocked when I saw that score. This Kansas team is improved compared to years past, but this is a perfect fade spot against a Houston team who has played 2 incredibly tough games so far. They came back and beat UTSA in week 1, didn't cover. Then they come back, go to Texas Tech in a really tough environment, lose in overtime, but actually cover the closing number. Now they get their easiest matchup of the season. I think the offense is going to flow. I think the defense should be able to stop Kansas. And I really just expect full regression from that Kansas offense. I don't think they're going to be able to be as successful as they have been. So I'm rolling with Houston. I think they win by 2 touchdowns in this matchup. And then the last play is Bowling Green +19. So one thing I really like to do, like I just talked about, was progression, regression. Marshall coming off probably one of the best wins in the history of their program, a win at Notre Dame, a win people expected. I was on the Thundering Herd at +21. I thought their defense was really good. I did not expect them to win straight up. Now they have to go on the road against a bad Bowling Green team who just lost to an FCS Eastern Kentucky team where they gave up 60 points. I think this is a perfect trap spot for Marshall coming off this huge win. I think Marshall is going to win this game by like 10 points. Like I think Marshall is going to look very uninspired on offense. Marshall didn't really do much. They didn't score a lot of points. They played really good defense against Notre Dame, and they got helped out by a pick 6. And the game still was very close. I think Marshall wins this game by 7 to 10 points, and I think this is a trap spot for Marshall after that huge upset win. So I'm also rolling with Bowling Green at +19.
19 is a lot of points, even if Marshall is coming in on a high. So I feel that. Joe, you're on a roll here. So we're up for our next segment, and you're going to go first. It is our top CFB picks of the week. And, Joe, you are looking at the UTSA game. The UTSA Roadrunners battling the Army Black Knights Saturday afternoon, looking to avoid a 2nd straight loss. I don't know what else to say. The Roadrunners suffered a heartbreaking loss last week to Houston, 37-35. And that's how they opened the season. It would have been a huge win to knock off the top 25, but they just didn't have enough to get it done. Saturday, they're going to look to bounce back against a 0-1 Army team. Joe, what side are you picking?
Yeah, UTSA played Army this week, and they had a really good comeback overtime win. I actually had Army +3, and it was kind of a heartbreaking push. But now UTSA is going to travel to Texas, and it's kind of the same spot that I was just talking about with Marshall. Texas comes into this game off of a game where they should have beaten Alabama. I mean, they should have beaten Alabama, who I think is the 2nd best team in the country. I think Georgia's still number 1. But Texas played phenomenal in that game. If Ewers doesn't get hurt, I think they probably win the game. Now Texas has to come back at home again as a 14-point favorite. It's a huge different dynamic compared to a 20-point underdog. Now they're expected to win by 2 touchdowns. They may have Ewers, They got a game plan for a different offense. I think UTSA comes in and keeps this game close. UTSA has played really hard in their first 2 games. I mean, UTSA came back from the death in week 1 to force overtime and come back. And then they had overtime in week 2. This team is a team that has played extremely well over the last 2 years. They don't really roll over for anyone. Frank Harris is a very good and capable quarterback for UTSA, and I think they're going to be able to keep this game within 10 points.
All right, Alex, it's your turn. You are looking at the Syracuse Orange taking on Purdue. There was, after a nice turn-up at home against Indiana State, it is time for Purdue to go out on the road for the first time this year. What do you got for us?
Yeah, this one is moved by about a point in my favor since I marked it on Sunday, but I think you should see how it moves over the course of the week. I have the over in this game at 57.5. So Garrett Schrader for Syracuse has been one of the best quarterbacks in the country through the first 2 weeks. And no, they haven't played much. I mean, they played Louisville and they crushed them in week 1. And then they obviously played UConn, which is UConn. So yeah, there are some quality of competition questions here. But I think he's really leveled up if you just watch some of the kinds of throws that he's made, the degree of difficulty of those throws, the aggression behind them, the placement of the ball. He looks like an entirely different quarterback than the Garrett Schrader that we have seen previously at Syracuse. Sean Tucker is still one of the best tailbacks in all of the land. I think that Purdue, for their part, is going to run quite a few plays. They're going to air it out with Aiden O'Connell, likes to get the ball out of his hands very quickly. They like to run a lot of plays. I expect that there will be offense in this game in high supply. The Purdue defense has actually chipped in a couple of touchdowns in the early going of this season. I don't rely on that when making an over pick like this because I think it's a fool's errand to bank on that kind of thing. But I think even if you price that out of the equation, you look at that as a potential for some bonus points. If there is some ball hawking to be done by the Boilermakers, both of their games for Purdue have gone over by about a touchdown so far. I am not entirely convinced again that markets are seeing Purdue for what it is at this point in the year, which is a team with a non-special defense and a really pass-oriented offensive identity. So feel good about the over at 57.5. And I think I feel good about it at 58.5 as well.
All right, another total. I love it. We got to mix it up here once in a while. All right, guys. And as for me, I'm going to need your advice here. I am looking at the late night game, the Golden State Showdown. Number 7 USC Trojans are hosting the Fresno State Bulldogs. And I am taking the Trojans on the spread. Now, the last 2 weeks have been a little difficult for me. But I think this is the one. I kind of have UFC as like kind of a dark horse to win it all this year. I think they're going to easily cover the spread. I will be betting this down to -11. The Fresno State Bulldogs are looking to upset them. They're not going to get it done. UCF covered the spread in the last 2 games. The Trojans are a perfect 1-2 at the spread while playing with at least a 12.5 favorite. So I say, let's get it done. Let's take a leap of faith. Fresno came up short last week against a different Pac-12 foe, falling to Oregon State. And USC passed its first road test. They're back at home now. I think that they have enough muster in them to get it done. What do you guys think?
You know, I might actually go against here. I'm not confident. It's a no play for me. I'm sorry. I love your spirit with these. I do, but I think Fresno is prickly. They are prickly. I mean, we've seen Fresno time and time again take Pac-12 teams to the wire and in some cases beat them. They beat the other Los Angeles Pac-12 team for now, UCLA, a year ago. I don't think Fresno is going to win this thing outright, but it wouldn't surprise me if Fresno kept this pretty competitive. However, again, love your aggressive spirit.
11 points, not 12.5.
I'm pretty high on Fresno State. I like
What's going on here?
There's a butt coming.
Okay.
I liked Fresno a lot coming into this year, but I have not been impressed with their defense so far. I mean, they played Cal Poly in the first game. They gave up a lot of yards, not a lot of points, but they still gave up a lot of yards. And then this past week, I mean, their defense looked horrendous against Oregon State, who's not exactly a world beater on offense. And they couldn't get a stop to win. In the one stop to win the game, and they couldn't get it. I don't think you could make a total high enough for this game. This game might end up like 50-40.
Set at 71, which
I would be. I like USC first half in this spot. Like USC first half under a touchdown. I think USC is probably going to be up like 7 to 10 points at half. So I kind of like USC on the first half in this game.
Well, at least you kind of agreed with me, Joe. Like, kind of. Alex, I think we might be fighting. I don't know yet.
We'll see. We'll see.
See how the game goes. Guys, this has been another episode of College Football Today. Be sure to make sure you're subscribed to oddschecker and like this video. Send us a comment about who you're tailing and who you're fading. I'm hoping that you're not fading me. I'm hoping I also win. So do with it what you will. And we will see you guys next week, Monday, for College Football Week 4.